Hey guys, welcome to Big Laws Official. Today's guest is the one and only Luke, the future Richardson. There's a lot of people that have wanted to get you on. I've been looking forward to chatting to you. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm good, mate. Yeah, brilliant.
You keeping busy?
Well, busy training and stuffing my face full of food. Yeah, sleeping all day. But I'm
You just
strong man busy. Yeah,
you're in the perfect place to
yeah,
train for strongman right now.
exactly. Yeah, living out my mum and dad's house and just sleeping all day. It's easy, isn't
I
it?
remember those days, mate. They were brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's just like a training camp, 365 days a year. It's perfect. But no, I mean, obviously with everything that's been going on, just like no distractions at all. Not even in work. Kind of, I'm trying to come away from work a bit now, but not even in there whatsoever, really. So I'm just head down, knuckling down, just try to catch up with everyone else, really.
You're doing that very, very quickly, mate.
Oh yeah, just
Your
try my best.
progress has been meteoric, to be quite honest. I mean, I remember seeing you first probably in some of the earlier Giants live shows where you were just some chubby kid helping out at the back.
No, mate, yeah, I was just a fat powerlifter moving all the big equipment around for you boys, wasn't I? But
Obviously, I mean, for people that don't know, Luke is are you the only junior that's ever totaled 1,000 plus in IPF powerlifting?
no, mate, there were. I mean, we'll probably talk about that a bit later. But when I did 1,010.5, I actually did it to win a competition where a lad called Pavlo from Ukraine did 1,010.5 in the same comp, and I won on bodyweight. So
Wow.
we both totaled exactly the same.
Uh,
Yeah.
but Pavlo's another extremely talented young lad. I've seen
Oh,
a
he's
few of his videos
a
on
monster,
his
mate.
Instagram. He's just,
Yeah.
but I mean, you're a big lad now, but he's massive, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at that comp, he outweighed me by 30 kilos. So
Wow.
I was 147 there. So and then he's gone on to do kind of the WRPF powerlifting and stuff like that, weighing in at like 190. So it's like
Wow.
20,
How old
22,
is he? 22.
22, same age as me. Yeah, I think he's
Jesus.
about 2 weeks younger.
Wow. But
Aye.
you pipped him on body weight.
I did, mate. Yeah, it was definitely a chess game that day, but I came out on top, thankfully.
Uh,
Uh, you know, uh, but like I say, fair play to him. I mean, it was as close as it got. Really, he dropped 386, which would have beat me by a kilo. He dropped it at the top. He pulled it, locked it out, and then just got the down, and then he dropped it. So
oh,
I wasn't celebrating at all.
I mean, it shows how many amazingly talented guys there are out there because people know of you now. You've become like a pretty big name in strongman, and obviously Tom Stoltman. He's a bit older than you, but
Yeah,
another huge name. There's other guys, Alexei Novikov,
mm,
but there's so many strong, talented youngsters out there, and
yeah.
the
Oh,
whole the
I,
whole gene pool of strongman is just getting bigger and bigger. And there's always been good guys,
mm,
but now there's lots of good guys, and the competition is so much harder. And
yeah.
you've only recently transferred into strongman, really, haven't you? To be fair to you.
Yeah, so I stopped powerlifting in May last year, so May 2019. That's when I started. Well, that's when I changed my training split to be a strongman, basically. I guess. So that was May last year, and then what are we this year? We're June now, so it's been just over a year. Yeah, so
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 I'll tell you what, could that be an interesting thing for people? Because obviously, I mean, strongman and powerlifting, you have to be strong, and there's a lot of things that carry over. But what has changed in your training?
um, to be honest, mate, I think it's just not being. I mean, you can't be as regimented because there's just so much more to account for. And I think for a powerlifter who come across, especially from sort of the IPF stuff, you're very strategic about everything to it. It's like what plates you use, what bars you use. I'd go in the gym, there'd be 5 IPF approved bars. I'd only lift on the Alico one. Whereas now I go in, it's like, oh fuck it, weights, weight. Do you know what I mean?
It's
But,
so funny you
yeah,
say that. I mean,
yeah,
the amount of guys I speak to, and they want to lift on a certain bench, and they
yeah,
want a certain bar, and they want certain plates. And in
yeah,
strongman, you've just got to let that go
yeah,
because you could be competing on a car park that's slanting slightly to the left, and you've got to use an axle to
yeah,
lift on with plates that are wobbling about. You've got to be able to adapt in strongman, and
yeah.
it's hard for a lot of people. A lot of powerlifters struggle, if I'm honest. There's
Like I said, I think you can see why they struggle, though, like you say, because you come from a sport that's actually so simple and so easy to prepare for. Well, there's only 3 scenarios, isn't there? You're doing a squat, bench, and a deadlift on the same bar and plates that you'll be doing, but then, you go to a strongman comp and you just got to be strong on whatever you turn up to kind of compete on. So it's just trying to lose a bit of that, not lose the like accounting for everything, but just trying to come to terms with the fact that you can't do that anymore, and then just training as well.
It's being adaptable that's the most important
Yeah.
thing in
Oh
strongman,
yeah, yeah, big time.
because we've both done powerlifting, we've both done strongman, so we have that experience of both. And most strongmen could step into a powerlifting contest and do well, but
Yeah,
not, it can't be the same the other way around. You get some extremely
agree.
good powerlifters
Yeah,
that could, they could come to a strongman comp and do great on the deadlift or the squat
yeah,
or some kind of pressing event, but even the pressing is different. But a lot of the actual events really mess people up. And
yeah, yeah,
even in strongman, you could have a farmer's walk set, but every comp it might be a different set of farmer's walks, so
yeah,
they all feel slightly different. There's balance issues and stuff like that, and
yeah.
the best strongmen manage to adapt pretty quickly. And I was watching your first few strongman comps, and you could tell how strong you are,
Mm.
but you could tell you were struggling a bit with the transition. And then suddenly you went, was it the OSG last year?
Well, yeah, mate. I mean, I was training in the gym on Monday night with Darren, and we were just in there doing log press like we do every Monday night. And it was when the OSG Europes was on in Rotherham, uh, and I went, "Oh, I just want to get stuck in and do a comp." And he was like, "We'll just do this one this weekend." And I was like, "All right." So I did it. I didn't practice for half the events. I never even done them before. So I showed up there, and like you say, I think my strength showed, but also the just massive amount of inexperience like showed as well, and just like that, not doing some of the events and then not doing a yoke before and having to do a 400 kilo yoke for 20 meters and stuff like that. But I fell my way through and I came seventh. But then I think after that, that was like a big almost. Oh well, do you know what? Being good at powerlifting doesn't mean I'm going to be good at strongman. So I need to like get my head down and see what I can do better. And then I came back in November for the official strongman worlds over in Florida, and I won that. So obviously I did something right.
Yeah, I mean, you've got great people around you that have helped you.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, I mean, you train with Darren Sadler quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah, well, I'm with Darren every Monday it is, and then I'm at our place. But training full time down there is kind of with Rich Parish and kind of all my friends down there as well. But yeah, I mean, from day one, I mean, I've been basically nurtured into this. Just like when you think of what's happened to me, you couldn't really write it any better for like an athlete's development. To be honest, from like lessons being taught by these people and being brought down a peg here and there, and just just staying honest with yourself, and training with a load of people who want to do well and want you to do well. I think that's the biggest thing.
I think one thing that's it's nice about yourself is that you're a very likable kid. You are. I mean, you've you say that you've been helped, and yes, you have. There's going to be a lot of people out there that are almost jealous of the situation that you're in, and you're going to have to
I'd agree.
have
Yeah,
tough skin, and you've just
yeah.
got to kind of, you go with the hand you're dealt.
Mm,
But you were helping out in the back for nothing,
yeah.
just getting your face seen, asking questions. Before you got any of this help, you were just a keen young lad wanting to learn from these guys.
Yeah, I
So
think that's the thing as well. Helping out at the shows to me wasn't, a hard day grafting at the show because I love strongman and I love the people that do it. I said at Brits during my last interview. I've been coming to these shows as a fan, like looking up to all these lads, and now I'm stood there competing with them. Obviously, I don't just want to be competing with them; I want to be beating them. But
oh yeah.
that'll come with time. But I'm not unaware of that. But yeah, like little thing, like I just love it, mate. I just love strongman, so it's quite easy, because I'm passionate about it. So
You can tell how passionate you are, and you're a very smart lad. To be fair to you, I've watched your training. You're a good coach. You're very meticulous with your technique, and that's
yeah.
something that a lot of youngsters should watch.
Mm,
Is early on in my career, I made a lot of mistakes. Like a lot of us, I thought, and we didn't have. To be fair to me and the guys of my generation, we didn't have
didn't
the
have YouTube
advice.
and stuff
No,
like
we didn't have all these kind of
that.
like this brilliant information that you can get
Yeah,
your hands on now. And you sort of just listen to the strongest guy in the gym,
yeah.
and often, I mean, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you're like the youngster,
Mm.
back then particularly, it was like an initiation period, and they would just beast you in the gym. You do these
Oh,
horrible workouts,
I
your
mean,
form would break
yeah,
down. It was awful. They just want to leave you like puking and stuff like that. And
yeah.
you had to get through it, otherwise you weren't invited back.
Yeah,
But looking back, it's not maybe the smartest way of doing things. I know
yeah,
you're very, very meticulous with the way you do things.
yeah. I think you know, I think there's things happen for a reason. I'd say I can definitely relate to that. You know, when I first went into Darren's gym when I was sort of 17, 18, we were all training and with a we were a big group of lads at the time. I'm sure you'd come down to Darren's a few times and probably met a few of them. It was a powerlifting group led by Johnny Banks.
Yep.
And again, it's just like really old school approach, like hard and heavy, but that taught you like how to work hard. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you can take so many positives from it. Like I was going down there, and that's where it sort of really ignited my passion for sort of powerlifting because I wasn't really thinking about doing strongman then.
Yeah.
Even though I would have loved to have done it, I didn't really put myself in that bracket with you lads because when you were coming down, I was like, "Fucking hell, size of them!" Like I'm just a skinny little lad, you know what I mean? But when I was training with them, it was coming in, but every week I was getting better because I was just training harder. And when you're younger, you can do that, can't you? It was coming down every week, doing 5 rep max and putting 10 kilos on it every week for
It's
4 or 5 weeks. Like,
those
yeah,
newbie gains are just brilliant,
yeah.
aren't they? That's the best part of training when you first start out and you just progress doing anything.
Well, that's the thing as well. It was like that was a product of the environment. I was training with, Benny Magnuson, Darren Sadler, Johnny Banks, who was strong, like 280 puller at like 50 odd years old, and then all the other lads as well. You train with like a group of 5 to 10 like sort of really hard working 40-year-olds who just get in there and graft. So it's quite easy to get in that headspace of like, right, well, I've got to prove myself here. I've got to work really hard. So I'd say that's carried itself with me, to be honest, even till this day. Just try to just work as hard as I can, I suppose.
It's important if you want to be successful in anything. You
Yeah,
don't get there just by sort of turning up. You've got to put the work in,
yeah, of
and
course.
you definitely do that. I mean, tell us about your progression because I mean, what age were you when you started powerlifting?
My first powerlifting competition was when I just turned 19, I think.
Can you remember the numbers that you did?
Yeah, I squatted 290 and a half. I benched 167 and a half, and I pulled 310.
It's pretty impressive.
Um, yeah, but at that point, I'd been training in the gym a while because I was training in my hometown before, just at like a little local gym, and then I got my driving license, and everyone was saying, "Oh." It was almost like this ancient whispered about thing like, "Oh, there's this gym in Bullbridge, and it's like there's all these really big, strong people there." So I got my driving license and I went across, and then that's when I met Benny and Darren and Johnny and all them people, and they kind of took me in. But as soon as I started there, I was probably I think 18 when I started there, just turned 18. So I had like a good year's sort of training there before that first powerlifting comp where I did those numbers. But yeah, I just kind of went on a bit of a winning streak from there. And then Pavlo beat me at Worlds, and then kind of came back and had a bit of a bee in my bonnet and was trying to prove something to myself and
Best
everyone
thing
else.
that can happen sometimes
Yeah,
is losing. Everyone's sort of scared to lose sometimes, but it can be the best thing for you.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think that was so. I won the British. No, I won the local comp, which was my first comp, and then I did the British 2.5 months later, and I won that with a 830.5 kilo total. So I went from 768 to 830.5 in like 2.5 months. I think I put on 13 kilos of body weight as well. and I went to the Europeans, which was the first time that I ever competed against Pavlo. And I won that as well. So I was like, "Oh, I've done 3 comps and I'm European champion. This is quite easy." And then I went to the Worlds, and obviously the Worlds was only two months after Europe. So I was like, "Right, I've got that as well." And then he came back and he got massive. He beat me there. And then I didn't have another comp till I think November. So I totaled 865 at Worlds, and I dropped the winning deadlift. I tried to pull 350 and I dropped it. So that was like a dagger through my heart, to be fair, because I wanted to win it so bad. But I think there's a difference between wanting to win something so bad and actually really wanting to win it. And I think
Yeah.
that was a big turning point for me. Was yeah, I was passionate, but I wasn't like backing that up with my actions almost. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that was a real big turning point for me as an athlete of sort of where it's like, right, like I'm all in now. Like no
Well,
more fucking about making excuses.
It's something I addressed quite a few times when I talk to athletes or I've done any of these chats. Is you're absolutely right. Everyone wants it. You know, we'll all sit there and say we want it, but very few are prepared to put the actual effort and work in that it takes to succeed at the very top level.
Yeah.
And you know, you can see right now with yourself is everything is focused on this.
Well, that's it. It's my life, mate. You know, that's the reality of it. You know, strongman is my life, and trying to get to where I want to be is like my sole reason for kind of being here in a minute. You know what I mean? So, you know, not where I want to be, but kind of who I want to be as an athlete and as a person. And it's not gonna happen quickly. So I think that's another thing for young people is you can get quite caught with like where you could be or what you want to do in that. And if things are going well, it's really quite easy to push the boat. Whereas I think again, being a bit more articulate coming from powerlifting, you know, I am getting stronger all the time, but with that carries a risk, as you well know. So it's sort of just been a bit measured in like, right, I could be in the gym doing this every week, and everyone could be saying like how good I'm going to be, or I could be in there training and kind of actually working towards what the end goal will be in 10 years, rather than that immediate gratification of putting up a post and getting a few likes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I do think a lot of youngsters make that mistake. They're after the instant gratification rather than the dedicated time it takes to get to the level you want to be. And you can, it's really good watching you. Like I sort of, anytime I watch the youngsters, I'm hoping they don't make the same mistakes that I made. And early on, it was, you know, I made the same mistake as everyone, where you're trying to just PB in the gym, you're trying to lift too much weight, your form breaks down, and you know, in more recent terms, I focused very hard on technique, and I never really got hurt in the gym. It was only when you push to sort of comp level. But a lot of those injuries later on for me came and stemmed from poor technique or original injuries. So, you know, I tore my bicep in 2007, and when you get an injury, if you try and rush back, which a lot of people do, and I put myself into this bracket as well. And the reason I talk about it is because I don't want people making the same mistake. So if anyone's watched me say this before, I apologise. But shut up, Uncle Loz. But it's so important to rehab properly and then build your training up properly. And that's what I love watching about you. You make your lifts look clean. Now you did a 410, I think, recently, deadlift.
Yeah, I did 410 for free. Yeah,
and it looked excellent. People going, oh, you know, he could pull 500 kilos now. I know that you can't pull 500 kilos yet.
No,
and I'm not saying you won't. But you lift in a manner that you're either going to make it look comfortable or it's not going to go up at all.
Yeah, I think that happens when. I think if you're quite efficient technique-wise, I think you can sort of eke everything out of it. You know, I think the 410 free it felt easy, to be honest. But like you say, that's not representative of anywhere near 500 yet.
Yeah, I mean, how many do you reckon you could have done with the 410? Because I know at that level you can pull 3, and then suddenly that next one just becomes so much harder.
I think I could have definitely done another, and then I'd have maybe been able to get a 5th out.
And that would be world, like, absolute up there with the absolute best deadlifters. I can only really see like the likes of Thor and Eddie in their prime getting close to maybe 7 or 8 with those kind of weights.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's with sort of the 400 for reps that are happening at the minute. Like you say, it's a good example. You know, with Jerry and Heinle the other week, you know, pulling so fast from the start and then you just die. But when you're at them sort of weights, every reps, it's like being hit by a car, isn't it? So you don't want to be, if it slows down, you're stuffed, really, are you? But that being said, Karan hasn't been putting much out, but Bish did 380 for 5 the other day, and that looked like fucking silly strong. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he does.
Bish right now is looking really good.
Yeah, well, I think Bish is another one who's kind of just, you know, he's off work, and you can see he's off work because he's putting on some size, like, and he's just you can just tell he's training hard. You know, another guy who's very articulate and thinks quite a lot about what he's doing, which, you know, I quite like and I respect him for. I said at Brits when we were all done after the show, and I was dying because I was just like, thank God that's over. and he's still walking about. So I'm like, fair play, mate. Like, you know, you turned up and he's just in such good shape and such good form. Like,
He really
yeah,
prepares well for
yeah,
events, and Lissis I think is very similar.
mm,
You know, there's a number of athletes that can really prepare nicely, and then there's others that are just they're just strong. They're just
yeah,
naturally strong guys
yeah,
that they can compete week in week out, and they'll be strong.
yeah.
And you know, I think Kiliaskowski's a great example of that.
Mm.
He's so talented, and
Oh, he's
just
a monster, isn't he? Yeah,
it doesn't matter where it is, he turns up in amazing shape. Then
yeah,
there's the other guys that are they're smart. They pick their shows, they make sure they peak, and then they back
mm,
off again. But
yeah,
I mean, you're bringing up every area right now. Obviously, the powerlifting was always strength, but you're
mm,
getting good at the events now. Your log's getting better. Your moving's
yeah,
getting better. Britain's this year. I mean, Britain's is a harder comp than the OSG contest that you won
yeah.
these days. The
Oh,
standard,
definitely. Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
we've got the Stoltman brothers, Bish. If Hicksy comes back, another incredible strongman. The likes of Terry and Felix still, you know, they've got events where they are still very very dangerous.
you're putting
And
yourself in there as well, mate. Yeah.
no, I'm happily watching from the side now. I,
Oh, right, okay.
I'm, I'm
See how long that lasts
oh,
for.
yeah, that's a good. We'll see.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
unfortunately, I'm a competitive person, and if I want to compete, I want to compete at my best,
yeah.
and I'm just not sure I can do that anymore.
Right.
If in a year's time I decide to compete, then I will. I'm not sort of going to say I'll never ever do a show again,
Yeah,
but my focus is elsewhere right now. So, and it's actually been really nice because I can just watch you guys as fans again.
yeah, yeah.
When you're a competitor, you'll have someone come up to you, oh, that Luke Richardson's good. I was like, no, he's rubbish. I'm focused on winning.
You
But you
just,
know what I mean. When you're in
yeah,
that
yeah,
competitive zone,
yeah,
say you've got like a youngster that's coming up after you,
yeah.
you're focused ahead of you. You're focused on winning the contest that you're
Mm,
that's up next. Whereas now stepping back, it's like a big weight off my shoulder because
yeah,
I don't have to have that tunnel vision of
mm,
focusing on winning, and
yeah.
it I mean, I miss my competitive side. Don't get me wrong, because that anger and that kind of like angry laws that could kind of go to dark
Oh, the one that
places.
was
To
whacking himself with a
yeah,
fucking stick in
you
the
know,
eye.
that's what made me strong and
Yeah,
successful in the first place. But I'm just at a different point in my life, and it's great talking to guys like yourself and some of the others that I can just see that hunger, and it's good, and it shows me that I've done the right thing because
yeah,
I don't have the hunger that you have in your eyes anymore. And there's
mm,
other guys that are still competing that I believe have lost the hunger. But
right.
there's a number of you youngsters and some of the sort of older guys still that you can see it still means everything to them.
Yeah, yeah.
And as a fan, I love it. But just as a competitor, for me, it's the right time to sort of step back. And you're a long way off that, so don't even think about it for now.
No.
Just focus on you got a lot of contests to win
Yeah.
and a lot of training
Well,
to do.
like you say, mate, it's good that you can come to terms with that. I think that, like you say, you can end up in that stage where you're doing it, but you don't want to do it because you can't really come to terms with the fact that, like, you know, not necessarily that you don't want to do it anymore, but just like you don't want to allow yourself to take that step back. 'Cause you're almost taking a step out of who you've known for the last sort of few
It,
decades, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? But,
it's ridiculous that I'm having
yeah.
this conversation with you out of all the people I've
Yeah.
spoken to. You're like the youngster on his
I
way
am
up.
wise. I am
You're, you're
wise.
wise beyond your age. But no, you're absolutely right. It is hard, and a lot of the older athletes, I believe, find it hard. And
Mm,
for me, it was hard. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, it was easy to stop doing something that was my life for
yeah.
15 to 20 years." You know, I put everything into strongman, and I can look back and be proud of what I've achieved. I didn't get the, you know, I never won world's strongest man, but I've done okay. And it is hard to sort of sit back and think, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
But eventually there comes a time where you think, well, my body's not 25 anymore
Yeah.
or 30 or, you know,
Yeah.
and the thing is, I still believe I could put the effort in and still compete at a high level.
Mm,
That's, but it's, if I'm honest with myself, I lost that hunger.
right.
And when I sort of admitted that to myself, it was nice because then I could put my focus into something else. And
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now, your focus is solely on becoming the best athlete you can be, and you should just focus on that because there's always
Yeah.
time to do other things. When you're
Yeah,
young
yeah.
as an athlete, an athlete's career is short. You don't know
Mm,
when it can be over. Looking back, you know, I've had a lot of times I've been able to overcome obstacles, but
Oh yeah, you've overcome some shit, haven't you?
and
But
but you're going to have to as well at some point. It happens
yeah,
to all of us.
mm,
There's different things, and the best guys get through it. And you are one of the most talented youngsters out there. It must be. There's pressure with that though as well. When everyone says you're great, there's a lot of pressure. So how do you cope with it?
um, I think for me, I think when I was younger, and I say when I'm younger, but I mean I'm still young now. Um, I think again, you can get carried away with like, oh, this is what everyone's saying I'm going to be. But just because you're going to be something doesn't mean that you are going to become it. Like you've still got to do all them things that are kind of set in place. So I suppose, how do I deal with that? Well, I'm just trying. I've got to quite a. I'd say I've got to quite an old athlete's approach at quite a young age, which I think is quite good, because it stops me from kind of doing some silly things, maybe just for sort of the clout or to back up like the name or something like that, or to prove. I don't really feel like I've got anything to prove to anyone else. I just want to be the best athlete I can be.
Is
So
that just sorry? Is that just your personality, or do you think it's partly because you've been training with those older, wiser people from such a young age?
it probably is, mate. Yeah, and I think a big turning point for me was I was at it was that world where I lost, and then coming back, and then starting to break world records, and thinking, right, well, I was breaking junior world records, which I'm still a junior now, so I could still be doing it now. But I was doing that at like just turned 20, so I had another 3 years to do it. So you're like, right, well, if I was purely just focused on like that sort of immediate, like, right, let's get this record done and then do something else, then I'd have stopped doing powerlifting 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So I think when you're always in this place of like you've already done something good, so you need to keep kind of chasing something better. But you can't chase your own records because you've already beat them.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to just chase the strongest sort of performance that I can put in. And another thing as well was 2000 and I think it was 2018 Body Power. I sat down with Big Z in the SBD booth, and I was like, well, I'm gonna fucking speak to him. You know what I mean? So just sat there talking to him, just asking him questions, like not like how do I get a better log and how do I get a better
Yeah.
deadlift? Just try to like learn more about him because he was quite a closed book back then. I think people have got to know him a bit better now, or at least he was from a fan's perspective or a young person, because you're only really familiar with the people that are active on the YouTube and the social medias and the stuff like that. Whereas Z was a strongman, so it was like, right, well, I'm going to speak to the strongman. So I went down and spoke to him. I was like, just chatting away. I was like, oh, when you started strongman, did you want to be like the greatest ever? And he went, yes. He was like, from day one. From day one, he wanted to be the greatest ever. Now, that's quite a big sort of ask of yourself in the first place. But then he's not thinking, right, well, I'm going to be the greatest ever in 5 years because I've got this many titles to win. He won 8 Arnolds, he won all this. So he was planning on being around for 2-3 decades in a sport. And I just thought that was quite cool. Was that like, does anyone have the right to say that they want to be the best ever at something? Probably not. But you need to have that sort of belief in yourself in the first place if you want to go on and sort of become it. So I think that was me sort of there. It was like, stop thinking short term, it's long term. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are now, it's how good you are in 10, 15 years. So
You're a very wise young man. It's, honestly, the amount of people there's so many youngsters, and I
yeah,
train a lot of youngsters, and
mm,
they're focused on winning junior titles and stuff like that. And I
yeah,
mean, a great example. I mean, Zadrunas is a great example, but a
mm,
great example in a different sport is a guy called Michael Van Gerwen. I don't know if you know anything about
no,
darts. All right, he's other than Phil Taylor, probably the greatest darts player ever. He's very,
right,
very dominant in recent times. As a junior, he never won the junior world title. He lost to another guy. I can't remember the other guy's name, but the other
mm,
guy never went on to do anything.
yeah,
Whereas Van Gerwen went on to be one of the best seniors of all time. And
yeah,
I think it's important to understand being great as a junior is that's great,
yeah,
but it's how you progress and have those long-term goals
yeah,
that are going to make you be remembered as one of the best of all time. And
yeah,
Zadrunas a he's a really good person to talk to, and he's a very interesting guy. But
yeah,
I think most of the top guys, there's not many of the top guys that probably once they got involved and started really loving training,
Yeah.
all of us believed we can be world's strongest man. Or, if you don't believe it, it's never going to happen.
No.
And then it's about setting those short-term goals of how you're going to get there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think leave that top mark, unlimited. Who knows how good you could be?
Yeah.
And Zydrunas is another one that's had many setbacks. People don't realize this about him, but his career was almost finished before it got started.
Right.
And he came back. He tore both his patellas. He couldn't
Oh,
walk.
yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
He had some serious injuries.
They told him he'd never walk again, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Derek Poundstone was told he'd never walk again. He had serious back issues. There's so many guys. I've been told by doctors to stop many times, way before I won anything.
Yeah.
And you're gonna always be told you can't do something, but it's having that belief in yourself and to keep progressing, keep coming back, keep improving, keep learning, keep finding new ways to get better and better. And out of all the youngsters I speak to, you really do have your head screwed on. Well, I'm not trying to give you a bigger head than you've already got. I'm talking physically, not. But that's just strongmen. We've all got these big, huge heads.
Yeah, but no, mate. I think, like you say, I think a young person and a junior's approach is comparing yourself to other people of that age, and I don't really give a fuck about that anymore. Like, people will say, oh, doing this at this age or doing something at that age. Like, I don't care what age I do something. I just want to do it. Like, it's not, and like you say, it's not a race. And at the same time, like, I'm not competing against juniors. I'm competing against like men in the. Well, I wouldn't class myself as a man yet, but I'm competing against 30, 35-year-olds who have been around for decades. So it's kind of irrelevant for what I can do for a 23-year-old or a 22-year-old or what junior records I've got. What world records have I got? Well, I haven't got any. So I need
that's the goal is winning titles.
Yeah, of course.
I genuinely believe you've got a very good chance, and I'm not one of those people that will put that pressure on you to say you're going to be the world's strongest man, because I've been in that position before, and some people like it, some people don't. But the most important thing is that you keep progressing, and your progression has been extremely fast. So I'm excited to see where you can go.
Yeah, I mean, it's been linear almost from day one, to be honest. Like, everyone be like, "Oh, noob games." Well, I've been making noob games since 2016, so
it's good. But just keep being smart with it. Keep kind of understanding that you have to back off and then build up. And you know what to do. You don't need this old man telling you. I'm very impressed with the thought process that you have, and I can see you having an extremely bright career. But you've still got, you were fourth at Britain's this year, weren't you?
Yeah, fourth, mate, yeah.
So you're looking forward to coming back next year and getting onto that podium?
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think like I say, I've been training fucking hard at the minute. I've been like getting everything done that I can, because I realise, like I said earlier, it's a moment for me to sort of catch up with everyone else. But if I'm talking about, I want to come back to Brits next year and win, well, that's almost me saying, well, if I'm beating guys like Luke, Tom, Bish, Hicks, all these people, well, I need to be on a podium at Worlds as well. So, and I don't think that's sort of out with me for like next year. I think if I can keep going the way I'm going, I mean, and you never know events, do you? So you don't know what can happen. Obviously, that's very dependent as well. But yeah, mate, just, and if it doesn't happen, well, then I just need to do a bit more. Like, like people's time will come when it's sort of their time, you know what I mean? But at the minute, for how things are going, I'm really pleased. Like, my weak events are getting better and my strong events are getting really strong. So what would you class as a weakness right now? I'd probably say my heavy moving events are things like yokes and farmers and stuff like that. Just because they are getting better every week. I mean, I've been training with a guy called Shane Jaman, MST, and he's actually taken a bit of that sort of workload off me, and he's taken over all the programming stuff now. And it's like I'm timing my moving stuff now, which was something I never did before, which doesn't really make sense because I never load a bar and press it and go, oh, I wonder what that was, and then walk off. You know what I mean?
You know what? The amount of people I make time themselves on speed events, and they're like, why am I timing it? Because it's a speed event. It's not a weight for max. It doesn't matter if you can do a 700 kilo yoke. It matters how quickly you can do the weight in contests. So yeah, and it also gives you that target to beat.
Yeah, but that was it as well. Is that, you know, from pre-official strongman America Worlds, which was in November, I think I took something like 10 seconds off my 30-meter farmer time, and every week I'm getting a second better here and there. You know, they're not the weights that we'll be doing at competitions. I think my farmer's getting better. My yoke I'm sort of not struggling with, but I think because I'm not sure if it's because of my squatting strength or something, I tend to just like, I start plodding, and then it's like one leg, other leg, other leg. And then I can remember when I was down at the yard with Mark Felix, and he's like, stop bending your knees so much. Like, and I'm like, oh, because I'm like trying to lunge it.
I was just going to say, are you kind of stepping with your knees?
Yeah.
A lot of the mistakes people make on the yoke is they sort of step. You need to shuffle from your hips.
Yeah.
That way you don't get that flex in the. Sorry, what were you saying, mate?
No, I was saying like, that, like literally that's it. You've just described it. It was like stop bending your knees, come from your hips, because I was basically just like doing like walking, like not walking lunges, but like, you know, overstriding and just going, well, my quads are strong, sort of. But then I did the car walk and I nearly like fucking kill myself, because like you can't start like mini lunging with 460 kilos, can you? So it's
car walk's even worse because it rocks side to sides and forwards and backwards. So the stability is tough. But
I'd say that, but then I'm working hard on that, and I'd say, you know, probably my fitness. But then that being said, you know, my medley training for Brits was going really well, and I fucked up I think twice on that medley at Brits, and I was against Tom, and I think I came 5th or something in it. But you know,
it's one of those events you don't want to go against Tom.
well, that's the thing, mate. I think I almost got a bit giddy because we did the duck walk and I smashed it into my leg, and I've actually got like a chunk missing out my like ankle now, which I didn't even realise that I'd done at the time until the guy who was handling me, Rich. He put like the Theragun around like my calf and my ankle, because I get like really pumped feet and like Achilles when I'm like doing the full shows. Well, doing the full shows, I say I've done fucking one, but but like he like hit it and I went, oh, and I like screaming, I was almost in tears. I was like, what the fuck have you done? And I thought he'd done it with the Theragun. He was like, what do you mean I haven't done anything? And it was just because like I banged this duck wall. You can see it on the video. Like I overstride, smashes into my foot. I recovered it somehow, dropped it in, and then I went back, ran, picked the keg, and I dropped the keg in before Tom. And I was like, fucking like, and I fumbled sandbag, and he obviously just like, whoop, just like off he goes. Yeah. And he ended up beating me by like 5 seconds or something. But yeah, I mean, but them things, it's not like I'm saying all the weaknesses I'm not working on. I'm training them twice a week. So, you know, there's a lot of priority going into them. Probably more than my deadlift, but your deadlift just gets more clout, doesn't it? Because it's already good.
Deadlift's become such a staple event in strongman now. It never used to be, to be honest, but the last kind of in recent times, it's become a lot more popular.
Yeah. Well, you can see why. It's cool, isn't it? Like it's just like
standing up with the biggest weight. Yeah.
Well, I say it's just like max weight. It's just it can be quite easily hyped up, kind of. But no, I think like the deadlift comps are gonna be really interesting for sort of the years to come, because there's guys like I didn't even realize, like, obviously, you know, Eddie did the 500 in 2016, 4 did 501, but 4 is probably not going to come back. I don't know. And then you've got Pyman did 476. Then
yeah, where did that come from?
I know. And then you can't ever rule out Janashia, JF Cohen, Heinlers, Pritchett. So then, you know, I'd like to put myself in that bracket as well now. Where in a few months' time, in a few years' time, I'm up there pulling sort of 500 plus as well.
Do you have any max events or max kind of attempts coming up in training or comp that you've got planned?
Not really, mate. No, I'll be saving my next max for kind of the next show, to be honest. Cool. So, I mean, I'm working quite high intensity wise at the minute, but it's sort of like triples and doubles. But I suppose it's, people say, oh, well, doing the 410 for free, you know, you've never done 410, so you're pushing the boat, but I'm so much stronger than 410 for free that, like, it almost doesn't matter, you know what I mean? But if you say you haven't done something for one and you do it for free, well, it just makes you sound cooler, doesn't it? So
it certainly does.
That basically. But no, I can't wait. Like, obviously, I don't just want to be known as a kind of deadlift only guy. But it is cool that, you know, it is getting to the point now where I feel like I'm getting up there with the sort of best in the world on that event. So,
So go on then. Tell me what the ultimate goals are. What obviously we said there's no kind of limits, but we all get targets in our head. I know winning competitions is important to you. So tell me competition wise what your goals are to win, and then maybe some world records you'd like to go after.
If I'm being completely honest, mate, I'd like to win 6 world titles. Um, that's say it's ridiculous or whatever. Like it might seem now, but you know, that's what I want to do. I want to win more.
Listen, saying it is not ridiculous at all.
Yeah,
If someone as a beginner says it,
yeah,
people will go, whatever, you know.
yeah,
Some, you know, yeah. And
yeah,
this is no disrespect. Like if you're a beginner out there and you believe you can do it, good.
yeah,
Just keep it to yourself until you get yourself into a position where you're actually
yeah,
competitive. And
yeah,
that's all I'm saying to people like that. There's nothing wrong with believing you are capable of doing something, and no one should be able to tell you can't do something. And if they do, let it motivate you to be even better.
yeah.
But you have already proven you're a great athlete.
Mm.
Okay, you've proven that. So people can debate whether you're capable of it or not. That's irrelevant, and that's the fun thing with sport. We don't know what's going to happen,
Well, I
but
suppose, yeah.
but
When you read stuff and you get caught, it's like, because that is my goal. My goal is to win 6. I want to win more than anyone ever. That is what I am sort of living for right now. Building towards that. And you see on YouTube, it's like this guy will fucking never win one World's Strongest Man title. He's not good enough. Blah blah. It's like you don't even know me, mate. But like, fair enough. Like you're entitled to.
everyone has an opinion. The amount of times that
Yeah,
I was told I was finished and I'd never come back and do anything,
yeah,
you know, I was told in 2012 I'd never come back and do anything by many people. I did okay after that.
yeah. Well, that's it, mate. I mean, I think a lot of people. Dogs barking. I think a lot of people are almost too conscious of what other people say. Whereas I think because I've been exposed to that at quite a young age, I don't really listen to it anymore. And it doesn't really bother me. I don't really pull anything from it. I think a lot of people like pull on it to sort of prove someone wrong or something like that. I wouldn't say that's my sole motivation for doing something. I'd say it's definitely sweet if you do something. Like example, someone said, "Oh well, he'll never win a world title in powerlifting." I'm not winning a world title just because they said I couldn't win one. But then when
Yeah,
I do win one, it's like,
yeah, of course. I
you
mean,
know what I mean? So yeah,
for myself, it was all I just enjoyed this.
yeah, of
It was
course,
just when someone said I couldn't do it, it sort of gave me a kick up the ass to try even harder.
yeah, yeah. That's
So,
the thing. It's not bad having stuff like that. It's not
so
bad
what,
having people.
six world strongest man titles.
Yeah.
That would be impressive. What else? Because yeah, I believe you're capable of some incredible things, and I want to just sort of get into your mindset.
I believe I can pull 500 plus soon. And by soon, I mean when I say soon, it's like my timelines again, like not 5-10 years. It's a bit longer than that, obviously, like body permitting. But I think I could be capable of 500 plus by if there's a max deadlift late next year. I think I could do it.
Nice.
So I'll be 25.
You'd be the
I'll be,
youngest guy to pull that much.
I'll be 24. I'll
You
be
know, you're 23.
Yeah, I'll be 24 going on 25. So, you know, and then if I can do that at that age, well, that means I've got some scope to kind of push it on. I'll never say that have the world record deadlift that's untouched for years because, you know, it's these records, even the Z's log, Eddie's 500, you know, they're getting challenged now. You know, there's a lot of guys coming for that log. And I think there's a lot of guys, you know, who are pushing towards 500 plus, probably just going to think like, right, well, I need to do this because like this
You
person.
just look back 10 years and see how far the sport's come.
Yeah.
And with the more, you know, the advancements in every single area, the guys are pushing themselves and just mentally, when someone does something, suddenly everyone else believes that they can do it as well. These barriers get knocked down. And so I no longer put limits on what people are capable of.
Yeah.
I used to, and I sort of regret it now looking back. I wish I was sort of more open because all my focus was ever right. This guy's the best. I want to be better than him.
Yeah.
That was as far as you let. But now guys are getting so good. It's interesting to see how far it will go.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you had any aspirations of other comps as well as Worlds. Is Worlds the only real focus for you, or are there other things that you'd like to focus on?
To be honest, mate, like I'm not saying that I don't have aspirations because obviously I'll do loads of comps, mate. I'm happy to do any comp that has that sort of weight carried to it. Like, 'cause obviously now Z did the Arnolds and stuff like that. I think it's just because I haven't really experienced or seen much of like the Arnolds and the Wusses yet. I know I've got an invite for September for the Dubai one because I didn't even realise that the the official strongman world was a qualifier. So I was like, so like the winner of that got to go to Wuss. So obviously I won that. I was like, oh fucking buzzing, you know what I mean? So I was chuffed, obviously, because I was going there to podium to get to Brits.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, first place gets to go to Wuss as well. So I was like, oh, sounds like class, you know what I mean? But yeah, mate, I think for me, I think if you work down, so if I can be good enough where I can win 6 world's titles, then I'll be good enough to win everything else as well. So it's almost like if I just make that the main focus, and then everything else will maybe fall into place. Because I think it's like if you try and like share your goals everywhere. So it's like, oh, if I wanted to win Arnold's and I wanted to win Wuss and win this many Britain strongest man titles and European strongest man titles, like it's all a byproduct of being the strongest I can be at the end of the day, isn't it? So if I can be at that level where, you know, I am capable of winning 6 world's titles, then I'll probably go on and win everything else as well, which would be quite nice. So yeah,
No, it's about being as good as you can possibly be.
yeah, of course.
While you're still loving it, while you're still driven to get better. That's the hard thing, I think. As you get the success, then it's how hungry you are to keep it going.
Yeah.
But honestly, I believe you're gonna achieve some big things. I think you got your head screwed on. Like I said, you're very, very focused. You understand it's not a sprint; it's a marathon.
Yeah.
This year, then, competition-wise, I mean, people keep saying World's Strongest Man is in November, but unfortunately, we don't know everything is going
No.
to be 100%. So that must make prepping quite hard.
Yeah. I mean, for the minute, I've just started adding in the events for Europe last week. Obviously, we don't know. No one knows. But I'd rather be prepared for something and it not go on than be prepared and then it go on.
100%.
And if I can be training, you know, shield and stones and stuff like that, then if, you know, it comes up at another comp, whether that be, you know, World's Strongest Man or another Giants or a Wuss or something like that, I think I just need to be trying to practice as much as I can. Which prior to starting to train the events for Europe, I was just trying to like rotating things out and putting new things in, so I'm like getting a feel of everything because I haven't done every event yet. So imagine I go to Worlds and there's like all these events that I haven't done, and I'm trying to like, you know, competing stressful enough as it is, as you all know. So like, I think for me, yeah, it's just at the end of the day, if nothing happens this year, then I need to be ready for next year. So it's just trying to again just chase that sort of end goal rather than focus on the immediate of like, well, I can slack off a bit because there's nothing.
So your focus is just keep improving right now. Just keep getting better in every area. That's good. That's really good. And obviously, with no distractions, you're making some crazy progress again right now.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, the most sort of fulfilling for me is my overhead, because I've had to work really hard on that to sort of bring it up. And you know, a few weeks ago I did 2 singles on a 185 log, and it like felt really easy. So hopefully it's getting up to now where I'll be doing sort of 200 by the end of this year, I hope. Which it's weird because I say, oh, I'll be doing 200 by the end of this year, and I'll be buzzing, but I'm not, because like it's still not like up to par what these lads are doing. Like if I want to be kind of placing high on a log, like top 3, so I can win an overall title, well, you've got Luke, Rob Kearney, like Bibby, like all these other lads. I can't even, like your Aaron Pages and these people, like all these lads are like pushing 220 plus. So it's to be taking points off them, you need to be in that same sort of realm, don't you?
You do. I mean, I think people have been a bit confused by like because and the thing that this is old man experience again, but
I'm listening.
I would say if you're a 210 log lifter.
Mm.
And as good as you can be, like the most important thing for winning titles is being good all round.
Yeah.
There's plenty of guys out there that excel on one event, but they might not be in the competition.
True.
You understand? So, you know, I was never the best overhead, but the main thing is who's in the competition. So it's why I like to see more events in a competition, to be
What
honest, to
what
test.
was your what was your best max log? Because in the log for reps, you know, at Europe's way it was that 160. You still placed very high, didn't you? On the one.
I was probably on track to hit a 200 kilo log back in 2012. My
Yeah,
pressing was very good. I did a 205 axle
I've seen that.
in
Yeah, yeah.
contests, and you know, I was beating some pretty good pressers at the time, and unfortunately went and tore my labrum in my shoulder, and then my pressing went downhill. And then when I sort of I was getting back to sort of the 200 kilo mark, but I
Mm,
never got a chance to do 200 in a competition because it was either reps or whatever. So you know
yeah,
what it's like. You focus on, but I've beaten a lot of good guys on log
yeah,
before, and many overheads. At Worlds, we did a 260 log. I placed well. You know, I've always done.
yeah.
I managed to sort of get enough points to then
Yeah,
be
that's what I
competitive.
mean. Like on the rep stuff, like I could, because I was at Europe's Strongest Man the year that you won. I was in the crowd. Um, and that was a 160 log for reps, wasn't it? But I think you were beating good guys, like the most
I
you were,
did enough to sort of keep
yeah,
mid-table on log, and
yeah.
then you know I was breaking world records on two
Well, they
events.
were a yoke and frame, wasn't it? It's like
So
you're
it's as
there,
long
like
as
yeah, yeah.
but winning competitions is all about your end result. I was talking
Yeah,
to Lalas and to JF Caron about this.
yeah, yeah.
You know, they're two incredible strongmen,
Mm,
not necessarily known for anything in particular in
mm,
terms of what, but they're just good all-round athletes, and
yeah,
they've both won and placed high in many contests. And it's if winning contests is your goal. I mean, records are great. Don't get me wrong. We all want records, but
mm,
not having a weakness is more important.
yeah.
So if you have a 6 event competition, you could win 5, but if you come last in one, you might not win the competition.
Mm.
So it's just
I think that's the thing as well. You know, lads like I said, like JF and that, they come fourth at World's Strongest Man this year, but they almost get overlooked because they're not. It's not flashy. It's not that this is the guy who's going to do this many reps on the deadlift or this many reps on the log or run this fast with this
a, a,
implement. It's
a
just
great
like
a
good.
great example
Yeah,
is Ian Bibby, and I love Ian Bibby.
yeah.
I think he's such a lovely human being. He's such an incredibly strong man. But in terms of competition, he's not really done much.
Hmm. I
If you
mean,
look at competition results, he's an incredible log lifter.
hmm,
But when you look at results from competitions, he's never placed that high.
yeah,
You know, because his whole game needs to come up a little bit.
yeah. Where was it? Well, was it Manchester last year?
Yeah,
I think he was in first place on Stones and he finished in like sort of fifth.
yeah.
Um,
I think
but
he slipped. That was probably his best performance actually overall.
yeah,
I've seen him. He brought his fitness up for that contest.
yeah.
And I think sometimes he focuses so much on the log and lets him get a bit bigger.
Yeah, but
But
then he hadn't touched stones for a year. So you go, well, but then you go, well, he's got stones. It's like just do the stones, baby. Do you know what I mean? Like you just want to shake him sometimes. But no,
he's
he's
an,
so lovely, and
yeah.
he's so just massive and strong. Like he just what
Honestly, I
what
think that guy's shoulder power
yeah.
is on another level.
It's out of
I
this
mean,
world, isn't it? You just need to look at the guy and just go, right, well, he's a world record log presser and everything anyway.
we have so many good log lifters, but
Yeah,
you sort of feel if he nails his technique, he just puts himself head and shoulders above everyone else.
I agree.
God knows what that guy could do if he really got everything nailed.
Well, I think it was Darren down at the yard here saying like, do you know them weird? They did it at Manchester. The dumbbell
Dumbbells, yeah.
stand or submit ones in it with the big white. Maybe he came over, I think, 2 weeks or a week before to like get familiar with some of the kit, and he was in the gym. There's a 100 kilo dumbbell, and he just started going like that. And now, mate, just turn to the side,
Yeah.
dip, and get your hips over. He's like, oh, well," and he's like, fine, don't listen to me then. So just try it once, I promise. And he went, and he was like, oh, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, just do that all the
Yeah.
time, please.
Sometimes people can be too strong.
Yeah.
And
Just
it's
like that with a 100 kilo dumbbell, just straight, you're just like, what are you, man? Like,
honestly, that man's
yeah.
natural God-given ability
Oh,
is
it's frightening.
incredible.
Yeah.
And I do believe with some work,
Mm.
he could step up and be a real great.
I
It
agree.
just depends if he's prepared to put that work in. Because sometimes when it comes too easy to you, you don't have that work ethic.
Yeah.
So it's I've seen some incredibly strong guys, but they're lazy.
Yeah.
Guys like you see some guys, they're not as gifted, but they work damn hard and they get their technique nailed and they become
Yeah.
successful through hard graft.
Mm.
It is interesting watching, and you've got a good combination of both. Guys like Thor and Eddie, both very good examples of guys that were willing to put the
Both.
work in.
Yeah. I think, you know, I know obviously 4 was, could you say, I don't even know, like obviously 4's a natural giant, and he's huge, like, you just have to look at the guy and realise he's just built for just being massive, but then, you know, Eddie, I don't Eddie's on that upper sort of like Eddie in his prime, he just looked like a silverback gorilla. He was just absolutely enormous, you know, it was
Thickness of his wrists and his
cartoonish, mate. It's
hips.
just like, what on earth? You know, just
Yeah.
so big. But I think Eddie was definitely, like we were speaking about earlier, after training with him a few times as well, which is really cool for obviously me because I looked up to Eddie a lot. Like he was the guy who was leading Strongman that sort of the time that I was wanting to come into it. But going and training with him at his gym, you're saying how, oh, like some people technically do that. Eddie will pay attention to the technical stuff, but after training with him, you know, you quickly realise that there's not one machine in one position in this gym that he couldn't stack and add a few plates to and do for a set of 20. Like he's just a brute.
Yeah.
He's just like
Seriously.
he's not got one weak muscle or one movement like playing on his whole body that he isn't just fucking strong in.
Yeah.
So he just
Very much so.
yeah, it is amazing to be fair. I love it. But that's the thing, even as an athlete, I can be like a fan of, you know, I am still a fan. I'm a huge fan of the sport. I love watching
It's
it. I
good.
love it.
Always keep that, mate. It's
Yeah.
it'll
Aye.
keep you enjoying it.
Aye, yeah, I suppose.
No, it's good,
Happy
mate. Well, Luke, thank you so much for coming to chat with me. I really appreciate it. I know so many people have been asking me to get you on, so
yeah.
I'm glad you said yes.
Aye. Aye.
Best of luck with the contests coming up. I hope Worlds happens this year for you and the Europes. You know, we're all ready to see some live events again, I think, aren't we?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, well, you almost live for it, and when they don't happen, you don't really know what to do. But no, they'll be back on soon enough. When they are, I'll be ready.
They will. That's the most important thing. Make sure you stay ready. If
Yeah.
people want to find you, where can they get hold of you, Luke?
I'm on Instagram. It's my name, Luke Richardson, and I get ripped for this, but there's 2 E's in Luke because someone had the Luke Richardson handle. So I've got Luke Richardson with 2 E's. So that's kind of my main place that you can find me. Yeah.
Awesome. We will tag your link in below in the description, guys. I hope everyone enjoyed the chat with Luke. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with more interviews soon. Take care, guys.